Odeniba 99.1 FM. It's Tuesday morning and we're still touring on the headlines, keeping tabs on developments in and around the country. We're going to be focusing on the political happenings in the PDP. And of course, topic of discussion for today is PDP after the Supreme Court rebuilding the party or deepening the crisis. PDP after the Supreme Court rebuilding the party or deepening the crisis. Now, Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, is once again at the center of a major political storm. And this time is not just about the recent Supreme Court judgments, but about what have happened after that judgment. Last week, the Apex Court delivered a ruling that invalidated the party's November 2025 convention, a decision many expected would end the crisis or force a clear political direction within the party. But instead of closure, what has followed appears to have opened a fresh and deeper chapter in the party's internal struggle. Almost immediately after the ruling, one camp associated with Nyesom Wike and his allies declared that the era of factions in the PDP was over, insisting that the judgment had restored party unity and settled the leadership question. But on the other side, the bloc aligned with the Oyo State governor, Seyi Makinde, moved in a different direction, first convening an emergency meeting, the BOT taking over, and in a dramatic turn constituting a caretaker committee, a move that has raised fresh legal, political and structural questions. Why would a faction respond to a Supreme Court ruling, not by folding into the existing structure, but by creating a new temporary leadership arrangement? Is this a strategic move to regain control of the party machinery, a sign that the deeper political wounds within the PDP remain unresolved? And beyond the internal part also, what does all this mean for the party's prospects ahead of 2027? In today's discussion segment, we ask, can the PDP truly reposition itself as a stronger position platform if questions over legitimacy, loyalty and leadership are still unresolved? My name is Njideka. Favor Gilbert, co-anchor, is here. Our analyst, Chigozie Nwurgu, is also here. Joining us to make sense of the recent developments in the PDP and the party's prospects in 2027 is Dr. Obumneme Nnoli, PDP Publicity Secretary in Anambra State. He joins us via the phone line. Good morning, Dr. Nnoli. Are you there? Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, Njideka. Thank you for inviting me.
Indeed, we're glad to have you. So let's start with all of these developments in the PDP. Because I know for some people it could be quite surprising as to the turn of events. Because after the Supreme Court judgment, I think a number of persons perhaps expected some sort of, would I say, reconciliation or even exit from the party, especially with the stronghold with which Wike faction is holding on to the PDP. But what we saw was an emergency meeting, and then the BOT taking over temporarily, then a INEC meeting yesterday, after which a caretaker committee was set up. The question arises, why all of this, when people perhaps expected you to maybe reconcile wholly or even exit the party? Can you explain this turn of event for us, Dr. Nnoli?
Yeah, actually, I'm happy we are talking about this. Looking at events unfolding, we know that the ruling party is behind what we are seeing in PDP today, because from the look of things, it seems they don't really want to have an opposition. And the people who they feel that are going to challenge them, they are doing everything because they believe they have the government machineries that can do the work for them. So looking at the judgment of the Supreme Court, yes, the November convention was nullified the people that we are expelled from the party or suspended, it was upheld that they remain suspended. So with that, what it means is what we rightly do by the BOT taking charge of the party and convening the meeting of yesterday, whereby an interim National Working Committee was constituted. And I believe that that is just charting a new way for PDP to regain its lost glory. But from the look of this, the government is hell-bent on maybe not allowing PDP to field candidates because they believe that PDP, with what they have seen them pass through and still remaining strong, is a force to reckon with. So they don't want it. Thank you.
All right. If you allude to the fact that the government allegedly is hell-bent on scuffling things in the PDP, how does setting up a caretaker committee resolve the leadership issue? Because right now, we still have two factions as against a united PDP after the judgment. And so if you think that the presidency is behind what is going on, how does the caretaker committee, setting it up, resolve it? What is that caretaker committee supposed to do that should address once and for all the leadership question in PDP?
Looking at the caretaker committee is just an interim something that we are looking up to so that we can be able to field candidates for the forthcoming elections, and from there we'll take it up. We'll still have a new convention where we will elect our leaders. Like in my state, Anambra State, I don't think we have problem. We have an executive heavily led by Comrade Dr. Njideka. We are piloting our affairs. It's just what they are doing at the national, like I said, is being orchestrated by the government as we are alleging. So looking at, okay, how can you sort out the fact that somebody like Wike, who is the leader of the other faction, is in APC, he's in PDP. Where is that kind of thing seen? And he's a minister in this current government. He's the leader of APC in Rivers State. He's the leader of PDP in Rivers State. Is he a dual citizen? Is he a dual human being? And it's not done anywhere. But they're allowing it because they know what the game they're playing.
Yeah, PDP is Wike is a big factor. But the question would be, how does PDP become one? Because at the moment, it is two. And setting up a caretaker committee, which you said is in the interim, how do you intend to make the faction under you to be the only solely recognized faction when you have INEC recognizing the other factions? So the question will be, are you going to go to court, or you're going to go ahead doing your own thing even when INEC has recognized and is still recognizing the other faction? How do you intend to legitimize your own faction?
Like I told you earlier, our utmost intention and desire now is to make sure that our name appears on the ballot papers. We are doing whatever we are doing to get people, get our interest forms and other these things, and buy forms to participate in the forthcoming election 2027. So that is the most important thing. After that, we intend to go for the conciliation, but because of the INEC timetable and the schedule of time, what we are after now is to get people that will run for this election, declare interest and get the forms. Then we'll move on from there.
All right. Good morning, Dr. Obumneme. It's good to have you here with us this morning. My name is Favor, and we've been listening to all that you are saying about the PDP. And a lot of persons will have this, speculation and then idea about PDP, saying that the PDP we knew is no longer what it is now. But with everything that is happening and the fact that you also talked about that whatever that is happening in the PDP is on the national level. But we know of two factions existing in the PDP. So I wonder, between these two factions, who is in control of the grassroots? Because who does the grassroots, pay obeisance to, listen to, and, act accordingly? Before the national convention, some states held their own convention in their individual states, and some did not. So, and even the ones that did, some factions are even emanating saying you are not supposed to do this, even after the Supreme Court judgment. Some are saying, okay, that the Supreme Court nullified the 2025 convention. Therefore, the ones that happened before that particular convention is also affected. So with this whole loggerheads of who the right leader is, the Board of Trustees has been, the other faction appointed new set of Board of Trustees. And the other faction, that is the Wike faction, is coming out to say, that there are no longer factions in the PDP. So I wonder, who should the grassroots respond to at this point in time when they already have two factional national leaders?
Okay, like looking at my state, Anambra State, we don't have faction, and some other states. These things we are hearing is in the national, and talking of grassroots. Somebody like me and many other people cannot be wasting our time saying that we are in PDP if we don't have the grip of the grassroots. So our own faction, as you are calling it, is on the ground with the grassroots. We don't have any disease. If there is any other faction in Anambra State that says they are any executive, let them call a meeting of maybe let them even give you the names of the ward chairman in the 21 local governments. We don't have such. We only have one PDP in Anambra State, every led by Comrade Dr. Chidebe.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, good morning. This is the analyst Chigozie speaking. I just have one question, because while you were talking, you alluded to the fact that the present government is the one orchestrating the problem in PDP, and you also alluded to the fact that Wike is more like he's working with the present government, claiming to be the leader of the PDP in Rivers State and also the leader of APC in Rivers State. And my question is this. If Wike is now clearly, just like you said, is clear that he's playing both sides, does it mean that the PDP does not have the power to treat the Wike issue, probably boot him out of the party, or find a means to make sure that he doesn't continue posing the problem for the PDP?
Yes, actually, it was at the meeting where they suspended Anyanwu and Co. that they would have done that with Wike. If they had done it then with Wike, we wouldn't be on this kind of mess we are in. But some of the people at the national then, that we are beneficiary of Wike's largesse then, never wanted it then. By the time they are clamoring for it, it's already late. Because at the last convention at Ibadan, Wike and some other people we are sacked. But because the court has nullified that particular convention, all that went through there seems to be null and void. So that is it. But if the time they suspended Anyanwu, if they had taken the bull by the horn then, by suspending Wike and sacking him as well at that time, it would have been a different ball game by now.
That suspension, was that what your faction claims to have been ratified by the Supreme Court?
The suspension of the
Anyanwu and Co.
Yes.
Okay.
Supreme Court ratified it, yes.
All right. Earlier, you talked about what the National Caretaker Committee is supposed to be doing. From your own indication, it does appear that a convention is not in the offing. It seems what you people want to do now is to see through the process of next year's election, and then maybe after the election, the convention. Are we likely to have convention or even congresses of which the court say you did not conduct happen before 2027?
Okay, the truth is that the interim National Working Committee will decide on that. They have not taken any decision on that. But like I said, we are only concerned about fielding candidates for the 2027 general election. When we are done with the time that INEC has given, then we will now talk of reconciliation. We'll talk of the way to move forward to reconcile and get another convention that will be accepted.
But Dr. Nnoli, how does your faction, the Makinde faction, decide to continue with the electoral process without recourse to INEC? Because I know one thing about INEC. INEC works with a court order. And so your faction said that the court ruled or ratified the suspension of Anyanwu and co, including the National Legal Advisor, the National Organizing Secretary. But the court say that you are the right faction, the right leaders. Of course, it didn't. If it didn't, how come you're going ahead with next year's electoral processes? Wouldn't they come to nullity? Especially as INEC is still holding on to the leadership of Abdulrahman Mohammed.
If INEC is still holding on to that, there are an agent or government agent. Whatever they want to do, they can do. The Supreme Court have said it all. And by ratifying the suspension of Anyanwu, somebody who was suspended, how can you be an executive of a party where you were suspended and the suspension was upheld? So all those things INEC is doing for now, I believe they are just doing it and waiting for the right time to do the needful. The needful is recognizing what the Supreme Court has said. If we go back to status quo, then what the BOT did was the right thing. Taking charge of the party when they have nullified the convention of Ibadan. Then moving on from there is the right thing to do, and which the BOT have done by constituting the interim national working committee.
I'm looking at what members of the PDP that have interest in contesting for election come 2027. I am looking at what the future actually holds for them, because somehow the bridge that holds them is actually not strong. I'm sorry to say this, and I wonder what you people are doing at this point in time to avoid mass defection, because people want to run in a stable political party. And with everything that is happening in the PDP, I wonder what the PDP is doing currently to ensure that people's, confidence is restored to a very large extent in using the party as a vehicle for their own political career.
Actually, definitely looking at the things unfolding, we see that some people are afraid, yes. But there are people who understand the current situation, and they are working assiduously to make sure that the party against is lost glory. So people will still buy from. And there's going to be a long time of campaign after the primary. So what we are just doing is for us to get people, get our form, our nomination forms, then bring and giving tickets to run. Then we'll go in for campaign. A lot of parties will still have problems after their primaries. So we are going to work on it and still get our people back. PDP is grounded.
With what is happening now, do you think that people will have confidence to even purchase the form of the PDP? Because we already have people exiting the party. Take, for example, the Bauchi State governor has left PDP for APM. A number of times people had looked up to him and Makinde as the only ones left to hold the party strongly. But after the Supreme Court judgment, he had to go because of his political interests. He needed to contest a senatorial seat. And when you look at older members of the party and the quagmire PDP is in now, do you think that they will have the confidence to buy forms? Are they confident to buy forms? Are you sure they're confident to buy forms?
Like I said, some people will just chicken out, but there are people who still have that confidence. Like we held an emergency state executive meeting this morning, some people are still indicating interest, while some are declining. The people that had already declared before, some are declining, while some are still declaring interest. So we are still going to work on it. The first thing is for us to get their forms. We have a lot of time to mobilize. INEC is doing everything possible to work with the government to frustrate other parties. That is what we are seeing with what they are doing. The kind of time lag they are giving, the time is too short. What they are doing, I think we are in a rush for anything. And you will see a long time for political campaigns as it has never been in the past years.
Well, let's look at the future. When you talk about some people still having confidence in the PDP, I know that the problem didn't just start with the Supreme Court judgment. It started as far back as when, after the 2023 election, or even prior to that, when the who should be the chairman or which zone should retain the chairmanship. And so the question would be, for the losses that you have incurred since the crisis started, how much more defeat can you take? Because it's not just at the national level, it's also reflecting at the state level. I mean, you take, for example, the elections that have been conducted in Anambra State in the past. PDP has not really done well. There has been some sort of decline. Some people will say steady decline. You look at the, by-elections, it was nowhere to be seen. You look at the governorship election, it came far back, 6th position, which is really surprising for a party that usually came second in some circumstances after ABGA. And so, how do you intend to deal with this decline, this further decline? After ABGA, it used to be PDP in Anambra State, but right about now, PDP is nowhere, So what are you doing to be able to bring PDP back into the minds of the people?
Like I said, what you are using as your analogy, your example in the past elections, like let's look at the governorship election that was held last year in Anambra State. PDP got a candidate who we later understand was not running for the election. He was only interested in what he would get from the process. And PDP withdrew their support for him. So there's no way you can see such a person who never campaigned for one day. You call him for visits and he never showed up. And how will you say we contested for election? That election was as good as we never contested it. But you still see the results, even when we still not to have a candidate. You still see people voting for PDP.
When did you realize that he was not a true candidate?
Yes, when we were telling him to bring his manifesto, how to go about campaigning, and he was not forthcoming. We started suspecting foul play. We never campaigned even in his own ward at Nub, not to talk of any place. No consultation, not even one.
Okay.
Yes, when we noticed it, so there is no way we would have gone on to maybe do campaign when we know that we are not into the race. But you still see that PDP got reasonable number of votes even without any campaign. So we at the grassroots, it's just for us to get it right from top. Then PDP will just come on alive again. So, but like I said, we have a long time after the primaries for people that will get the tickets for us to do campaign. And you will see, PDP will bounce back. And at the end of the day, the reconciliation process will continue.
I think the question would be, is it just campaign that actually makes people to identify with a party. Because when you look at what played out in Anambra State PDP, and you say that your party did relatively well with our campaign, and what does that well mean? 1,401 votes, if I get it correctly. How is that a significant vote? And how does that actually mean you got it because there was less campaign? One would think that alongside the campaign is the party being accepted by the people. So it is not about the failure of campaign. It's about how much trust do people still have in the PDP, not just in Anambra, but nationally, because there is that perception that that lack of trust is what is reflecting even in the grassroots. So the question would be, have the people left the PDP, and what is the PDP doing to reignite the party in the minds of the people, as against thinking that the laws or the number of votes you got was because there was not enough campaign?
Okay, like I said, one of the things you still know is that if you look at even some North Central and some Far North, we still see that PDP, they are still doing well. Then coming down to this side, like I said, use Anambra as a case study. In many elections in the past, people vote based on individuals and not parties. So when you look at that scenario, then you will understand that what we need to do is to field people who are credible. That when we talk to people about them, they will see the reason to vote for them. Because people are tired of this party system. But like I told you, even with the ongoing registration of party members in the state, I know even in my own ward, in my own local government, I know the number we have gotten as members who are still card-carrying members of the party. So that is it. Just that during elections, when you are not serious, they may tend to, because of the economic situation of the country, deviate, but they still believe in PDP. They still work for PDP. Yes.
I'm looking at the issue of reconciliation, because you've hinted on after the election, then the reconciliation process.
No, I didn't say after election. I said after the primary.
Okay, after the primaries, then the reconciliation process can But the thing is, the other faction, are they showing any sign of reconciliation? And what nature should the reconciliation take? What tone should that reconciliation take? Because from the body language of the other faction, they are still alluding to the fact that they are the recognized faction, they are the recognized leadership, and they are the leaders of PDP. And then the Seyi Makinde's faction, the Turaki faction, they are still saying, okay, that they are, the leaders of the PDP. Even after the Supreme Court's judgment, they still had to, come up with an interim leadership. And we will be asking ourselves question of whether this reconciliation will actually happen, based on the fact that nobody is actually agreeing to being the one to soft pedal for the other.
Like I hinted earlier, the crisis in PDP, I will always allege that it is being fueled by the government of the day. So how do you begin to talk of reconciliation with the faction you are talking about when they are being seen as working for the government of the day? There won't be genuine reconciliation. But what I'm talking about is looking at genuine PDP members who have one thing or the other that they have against the party that we need to reconcile with. I'm not talking of the faction that we are seen as working for the government, because they will always work for the paymaster.
But they are the main faction. They are the main faction that you need to reconcile with.
That is what I'm saying. We are not talking about, though I'm not a member of the Interim National Working Committee, they have the way they want to go about it. But for me as a person, I am seeing it as that it will be very difficult, because it's like maybe my father telling me to go and buy oil in the market, and coming to the market, I see oil, I see drink, and somebody is telling me buy drink. I don't think I will change my mind. I will stick to what my father told me, buying that oil as against the drink. So that is it. So it will be very difficult for somebody whose paymaster has told what they want to change their mind. So, but that one is left for the International Working Committee to know the way to do in their reconciliation move.
Okay.
Okay, Doc. When you talk about this reconciliation, I beg to differ, because at this particular point in time, it's looking more like I'm not seeing any pathway for PDP reconciling. If you people don't deal with the issue of Wike faction, and most especially Wike faction, because you yourself clearly said that it looks like more he's working for the government of the day and orchestrating problems. So I don't see any way you people are going to reconcile if you don't get to deal with that particular problem.
What we are looking at, the law will take its course, because the case has gotten to the Supreme Court. By the time they will begin to analyze the judgment and come to its conclusion, then everybody will know his or her stand as regards to the judgment of the Supreme Court. Like I told you, from my own little understanding, I believe that having said that the suspension of Anyanwu and Co still stands, I believe that right decision that the BOT took by getting an interim national working committee. So let's just watch out. But for the reconciliation, I said we cannot be talking of reconciliation with the Wike group as a party, because that is my own personal opinion and view. Because I believe they have their paymaster.
All right, we've just joined us. We have been speaking with the PDP Publicity Secretary in Anambra State, Dr. Obumneme Nnoli, and he had been taking us through what has been going on in the People's Democratic Party, trying to shed more light as to his decision. We have tried to look at how that decision will play out to affect the 2027 election and their participation in it. But he thinks that they are moving along in the hope that things can be resolved at the end of the day. Well, Dr. Nnoli, let me go back to what you said transpired in Anambra State PDP. You talked about how you realized later in the day that your candidate, Jude Ezenwafo, if I recall, was not whom you thought he was, as he was not ready to cooperate in terms of presenting manifesto or even campaigning for the party. But I also remember that I think he was somewhat suspended because I think there was a talk about your leadership, the state leadership not supporting him to conduct the campaign. So I wonder why the whole campaign issue is now put on his head. But most of all, what do you intend to do to ensure that you bring up the right candidate for the party in 2027, so that you do not repeat what you would term the mistake of the last election? In the event, Anambra again goes to the governorship seat.
Okay, like what you said, nobody prevented our governorship aspirant from going on with his campaign. But like I said, he refused bringing out his manifesto. He refused coming out for us for consultation. We didn't go for any ward campaign, not even one, even in his own local ward at the North. So, and the suspension you were talking about, the state school, after the election, just some hours after the announcement of the results, the video going viral was his visit to congratulate the incumbent, Soludo.
Okay.
And we felt it's a slight on the party,
Okay.
having messed us up. And that was why the party, as its ex-committee, expelled him from the party. So, looking at what you asked of not repeating the same thing, during the time of his going for the form for governorship, we were at the deep of the crisis in PDP, and a lot of people that had wanted to obtain form were afraid of getting the form because they believe that PDP is in crisis and that after winning the election Sunday morning, they may lose it at the court. So when he came, we never knew where he was coming and that some people were using him. So when we got him, we never screened or we were just happy, carried away by the fact that at least somebody is going to fly the party flag at the election. So we never scrutinized. So, but having passed through that kind of experience, I don't think we will have that. And some of the things he was supposed to do, in terms of even the money used to purchase the form and some other things, some of them were waived for him. So, and if we had known and we had followed this strictly the way it's supposed to have, and he followed this through the normal process, I don't think he would have maybe completed the process or abandoning the process on the way. So we are not going to make that kind of mistake in other subsequent elections. Thank you.
Well, Doctor, let me apologize before saying this. Well, with what you have said now, a lot of persons would think that PDP is in a state of emergency, with the fact that you have to be happy because someone had to pick your nomination form for the governorship election. That is actually the almighty PDP in Anambra State being happy because somebody at least will have someone that will represent us in the election. So with that in mind, I don't know how you people, that is PDP, will be able to douse that particular ideology in the minds of people currently, that the party itself is somehow in doubt of itself at this point in time.
Yes, like I said, the party was in crisis, and even within the party in the state, some people that lost election during the state congress that formed the ESCO, we are working against the current ESCO. So some people that declared interest, they were discouraged. There were a lot of stories then going around.
All right. I think we have to leave it here. Dr. Nnoli, are you still there? Okay. We have to leave it here. We're completely out of time. Of course, want to appreciate the PDP Publicity Secretary in Anambra State, Dr. Obumneme Nnoli, who joined us today, talking about PDP and, of course, its prospects. The party's prospects in 2027. So, guys, what are the takeaways during that conversation?
I think if you listen to Doc, you even notice that even they themselves in PDP are not even sure of what is actually happening in PDP.
Whereby to come out of it.
Whereby you yourself is alluding to the fact that even people who are putting their interests forward, many of them are now looking at the theatrics and indices surrounding the party, and everybody is now withdrawing his or her interest. That shows that clearly PDP is dying by the day.
Of a concern to me was my persistence in knowing how they will claim leadership. Because there are two factions, clearly. I would think that maybe the PDP should reconcile, that is, the two factions should reconcile, or maybe you should go through a court process that perhaps maybe start a court process again that invests that leadership on you. But the answer was, okay, we're just doing our thing. So when you keep doing those things, where do they land you if at the end of the day INEC is holding on to another leadership?
It's quite funny that we are having this conversation, and even the people we are having the conversation with, to some extent, they are not even sure of actually what the future holds for them. Because if you're talking about reconciliation, I wonder who you are reconciling with. Are you not supposed to be reconciling with the warring faction? Who else are you talking about reconciling with, if not the other faction? And the reconciliation, I don't know how possible it is, and whether it will push through, and who is going to soft pedal for who.
I think we have to leave it here. I want to appreciate the Publicity Secretary once again. We'll continue with the conversation on Nigeria. We're still monitoring all of the political parties, and let's see how they navigate through the murky waters of the political wranglings ahead of 2020. So we wish them all of the best. My name is Njideka. See you again. Chika, thank you.
Thank you.
And I am Favor Gilbert. Thank you for listening.